Hello and welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. Today we're going to take a look at our Limitless guide for match day 4. Yesterday we had our wildcard guide, so if you are potentially looking to use that chip, make sure to go and check that video out after you've seen this one. In this video we're going to take a look specifically at match day 4 and what you can potentially do with your Limitless chip. We're going to look at clean sheet odds, goal odds, the injuries, and some potential teams and players that you can look at for a Limitless in match day 4. Now if you are on the fence if you want to use it or not, again, the Limitless, if you're not planning on using it for a big week with big fixtures against good teams, which I would argue that match day 4 kind of comes under that, it's really for players who have a lot of short-term injuries. If you've got 3 or 4 players out this week but they are planned to be back for match day 5, then maybe a Limitless is going to suit you a little bit better for match day 4. But I have obviously made a Limitless draft which will be available at the end of the video, and it does look quite good, so it's definitely one to potentially consider if you do have some injuries in your team. So let's take a look at some of them. So it's basically the same injury list from yesterday, but we have added in 2 more players, and that is the 2 Juventus guys. If you haven't yet watched yesterday's video, Rafinha, Garcia and Pedri are looking like the 3 players that are going to be ruled out of Barca's game this week. De Bruyne picked up a hamstring injury after scoring a penalty for Napoli, and he is going to be out probably until the new year. The only information we've been given is he'll be out for months, which essentially rules him out of match day 4, 5 and match day 6. So again, if you maybe have him in your team and you're considering a Limitless, maybe it would be better for a wild card on your side. Merit has been ruled out. Again, that's more for the wild card people to go for someone like Milinkovic-Savic, who will look really good for the upcoming games. But our 2 added in players this week are going to be Yildiz and Kelly. Now Juventus are playing in Sporting, so you could potentially pick 1 or 2 of those guys. Now with Yildiz, he has a potential knee injury, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too serious as far as I'm concerned. It looks as though he's going to be available and nothing to really worry about there. With Kelly, with Lloyd Kelly in defence, it's a little bit different. He remains a doubt for this week, so it looks as though Yildiz is going to be the one of the 2 that is likely going to be starting. Kelly is potentially another one that you're going to have to look out on. Whether you'd include him on your Limitless or not is a different story, but that's just a kind of update onto some of the players that are going to be available for this week. Now, some of the strongest defences in world football are looking very, very nice for match day 4. You've got Inter Milan and Arsenal, both with very, very nice fixtures. Mainly Inter Milan, who are playing at home to Kairat Almaty this week and given a 68% chance of a clean sheet, which is absolutely huge. And on a Limitless, you're really going to want to be making the most of that. Obviously, they are going to be predicted to score quite a few as well, which we're just about to look at. But the clean sheet is definitely a big one for Inter Milan this week, and I would really be locking that in. So you could easily triple up on the Inter Milan defence, or you could go for the double, and personally I'd be picking both the wing backs and Dumfries and DeMarco. They would be absolute locks for me on a Limitless this week. But again, definitely worth keeping an eye on the predicted lineups if you want to see any predicted lineups and team news. Again, make sure to follow me over on Twitter because I post absolutely everything that comes out. With Arsenal, again, haven't conceded a goal in 7 games now. I think it's pretty much undoubtedly the best defence in the world right now, and they've got another fixture against Slavia Prague, who aren't really doing fantastically. One of the weaker teams in the tournament, and I would definitely be expecting a clean sheet there. 55% for a team playing away from home is absolutely huge as well. So Gabriel, Timber, Calafiori, Saliba. We do see the lineups for the Arsenal game as well, which is ideal. So you can pick 3 of those guys, whoever's starting, and I definitely would be grabbing up some of those as well. Atletico Madrid don't really have too many attackers. I think if I was going for anyone there, it probably would be Oblak in goals. I wouldn't be wasting an Arsenal or Inter player on the goalkeeper, so I think I'd go the next best and pick Oblak. as the goalkeeper there with a 49% chance. You've also got Spurs with a 45% chance against Copenhagen. Again, we'll have a look at some of the potential players that you can look there, but definitely Spurs are worth considering as well. And then you've also got Newcastle, Chelsea and Villarreal. Villarreal don't really have a lot of great players available in defence at least, but we will kind of have a look at some. And then you've got Chelsea and Newcastle. Chelsea have a nice fixture against Karabag. Karabag have been a little bit of dark horses so far. They have scored quite a few, and they are playing at home to Chelsea, so maybe be a little bit wary of that. But they are still getting a 43% chance of a clean sheet. And then Newcastle have the Bilbao fixture, and again, when we look at ball recoveries and stuff, you will see a couple of options that you can pick from there. In terms of goal odds, we have Inter Milan again at the top of the list with probably the highest percentage I think I've seen so far this season, with a 75% chance of scoring 2.5 or more goals against Kairat. So yes, I think I would definitely be picking Dumfries and DeMarco because they have fantastic attacking potential with a really good chance of a clean sheet. But definitely worth considering an attacker as well, whether it's going to be Thuram, Lautaro Martinez, even Çalhanoğlu, who's on all the set pieces. I think the three of them, I'd definitely be looking to pick at least one. Again, once we see predicted lineups, you'll have a better idea of who the best ones could be. Atletico are in there as well. I wouldn't probably look any further than Julian Alvarez. I think he would be your best bet if you want to pick a third striker and go a little bit differential, because I don't think he's going to be very highly owned. Barca are still predicted to do quite well. Lewandowski's back from injury. Dani Olmo's back from injury. Obviously Marcus Rashford done really well in matchday 3. And of course Lamine Yamal, one of the most popular players in the game. Chelsea are expected to do well, and of course Manchester City as well up against Dortmund, Erling Haaland's old team. I think he would be a lock based on his form as well for matchday 4. Arsenal are quite a little bit lower than expected, so again 43% chance of them scoring 2.5 or more goals. I think with Arsenal, since they're sitting in 6th place there for goals, I think I'd be more focused on their defenders. A triple up from Arsenal is definitely one that you can consider, but definitely I wouldn't rule out any midfielders and attackers. Again, you do see the lineups, so you've got Bukayo Saka, potentially Victor Gyökeres, or even like a Declan Rice if you wanted to go that direction. As far as ball recoveries go, again, we have a lot of, not really considerable players from weaker teams, but we do still have 2 Newcastle guys and a Spurs guy in there with Van de Ven. They're probably the only 3 I would consider on a Limitless this week, potentially going for the likes of Kieran Trippier or Dan Burn. Trippier get rested at the weekend to play in the Champions League. Dan Burn obviously locked in at the left back spot. Now you get Van de Ven as well. Spurs have a really nice chance of a clean sheet at home to Copenhagen this week. Van de Ven's also scored in the Champions League so far, and he's definitely one that I would 100% be considering. I think if I was to pick anyone off this list, it would be Van de Ven at home to Copenhagen. Nice clean sheet chances, nice ball recoveries, and of course a pretty decent goal threat as well. So with all that being said, these are the target teams that I would definitely be looking at for this week. We have Lautaro Martinez from Inter, as well as Dumfries, DeMarco and Çalhanoğlu. They would be my 4. Again, once we see lineups, you could potentially look at another defender, someone like a Bastoni or a Kanji could be quite nice. From Atletico Madrid, again with a nice fixture against Union SG, I wouldn't really be looking at anyone else other than Alvarez and Oblak. I think you can use your spaces a little bit better than anyone else other than those 2 from Atletico. Arsenal, I really could have listed about 7 players here. I've picked the main 4 of Gabriel, Timber, Saliba and Saka. Again, you can wait until the lineups. Well, I would wait until the lineups before picking which 3 you go for, but you could also add in, a Trossard in here, Gyökeres, Calafiori. I wouldn't waste that spot on Raya though, if you are potentially considering that. I think your 3 Arsenal outfield players are going to be a little bit better because Raya is going to be limited to a 6-pointer, and you have the backup of your other goalkeeper who could potentially do well as well. So I'd be using all your 3 Arsenal and Inter Milan players on outfield players and wouldn't be wasting that on the goalkeeper spots. For Barcelona, the only one I've picked is Lamine Yamal. I don't think any of their defenders are going to be too worth it. They are playing away to Club Brugge this week, so I probably wouldn't be looking there. And for the attackers, I think Yamal is really the only one that is worth it. I think you can get better fixtures elsewhere. I don't think there's any need to double up on Barcelona attackers, so I would pick one. I think Yamal is going to be the best one to choose. I probably wouldn't waste a forward spot on Lewandowski or Ferran Torres or Rashford, because you don't know one, which one is going to start, and two, obviously there's better goal odds elsewhere to use those precious 3 forward spots on. So I think I'd just be picking Yamal from Barcelona. I wouldn't be going any further than that. The same with Manchester City. I don't think anyone's really worth it other than Erling Haaland. You could potentially gamble on a Phil Foden if you have an extra midfield spot at home to Borussia Dortmund. He picked up an assist at the weekend, but I don't know if it's the most optimal thing to do, but it's totally up to you, of course. Play your own game. In Chelsea, we've got Enzo Fernandez, Cucurella, Reece James and Caicedo. Again, Chelsea are another team that you can pick quite a lot of players from. You could also add in João Pedro in this list. Any of the centre-backs are quite hard to predict who is going to start, so that's quite a difficult one. Potentially you could look at Rob Sanchez in goals. Again, totally up to you. I think Enzo Fernandez would be the best choice, with being on penalties right now as well and listed as a midfielder. Very good attacking stats in the Premier League as well, and he obviously has that nice fixture against Karabag this week. For Spurs, we get Van de Ven, who I think would be your main choice, Porro and Vicario. I wouldn't look at any of the attackers. Again, there is a lot of rotation between Spurs attackers, and I think you are best just picking a defender for that spot. For Villarreal, we don't really have too much going on. Again, they do have a very nice fixture against Paphos this week, but it's quite hard in trying to determine who their best players are. Nicolas Pepe is probably going to be your best choice, or someone like a Mikatadze. I believe he's the one who has taken penalties. And then I've got Cardona in here as a possible defender. Again, really hard to pick defenders who have an attacking threat. Cardona does have 2 assists this season. I'm looking at his stats right now. Starting in 8 games, played 9 matches, and he has 2 assists so far from left back this season. The only problem with him is his minutes aren't too great. In the league at the weekend, he played 0 minutes. In the cup before that, he played 67, and then he played 90 minutes in the league. But in the Champions League so far, he's only played 45 minutes against Man City and 14 minutes against Juventus. So he's a bit of a minutes risk. He's prone to an early substitution. It's quite difficult when trying to really pick anyone from Villarreal, because no one really stands out. I can look them up right now as well. Mikatadze, 2 goals, 2 assists this season. Nicolas Pepe, 2 goals and 1 assist this season. They've got a left mid as well, Moliero. I think he's actually the cheapest midfielder in the game. He's got 2 assists and 3 goals this season, but again, he is a very minutes prone player. 63 minutes, 0 minutes, 88 minutes, and then in the Champions League he's had 24 and 26 minutes, so it's not really looking too ideal for him either, which doesn't give you a lot of options from Villarreal. And then for Newcastle, we've got Gordon, Byrne, Trippier and Woldemade. Woldemade and Gordon both get subbed at half time at the weekend, again preparing for this Champions League fixture. And again, all on really good form. Gordon's been absolutely smashing it in the Champions League, and of course Newcastle with Byrne and Trippier, good defensive, good ball recoveries, and a really nice chance of a clean sheet as well. So this is the team that I've decided to opt for if I was going to be using the Limitless this week. And again, as I said, very much focused on Inter Milan and Arsenal, the 2 teams with the best defences and the best chance of clean sheets. We've got the double up in both defences as well. We've got Dumfries and DeMarco. I wanted to save another spot for the Inter Milan attackers. Again, we'll have to wait on predicted lineups for that one, but the one I've went for right now is Lautaro Martinez up front. I think that's probably the best 3 that you can get from Inter, and probably the best fixture available in the tournament as well. And then we've got the triple up as well from Arsenal. I've got Gabriel and Timber. and then I've went for Saka as well. The reason I didn't go for the triple up in defence is because I did want Mickey van de Ven. Again, he kind of ticks all the boxes and what you want from a defender this match day. A home fixture against a weaker team, good ball recoveries, good clean sheet odds as well, and of course a nice goal threat. So I decided to use my other Arsenal spot in a more attacking player, and I've went for Bukayo Saka. Again, could easily go for whoever you want in there, whether it's Declan Rice or someone like a Trossard instead. In goals, I went for Oblak and Pope. They're really the only two that play on different days that have decent enough clean sheet odds that obviously don't play for Arsenal and Inter Milan. So they're a nice double up that you can go for. And that way I'm still covering off the Newcastle defence and the Atletico Madrid defence as well. The midfield is Yamal, Saka, I've already mentioned. We've got Enzo Fernandez, again taking penalties. We've got Gordon, who's also taking penalties. And I went for Scott McTominay as well. Frankfurt have conceded the most goals in the tournament so far, and McTominay is now back in his position from last season with Kevin De Bruyne now out injured, and I think there's a decent chance for him to do really well this week, so I have decided to go for him, which again covers off Napoli. You know, again, you really want to have someone who is playing against, you know, the worst defence at home as well. Then my front three I went for Mbappe and Haaland. Haaland, no real introduction there, home game in fantastic form. The same with Kylian Mbappe. It is away to Liverpool. At the start you probably would have said that's quite a difficult fixture, but they haven't been the best defence recently. They kept their first clean sheet and I think 10 matches at the weekend, but they haven't been great defensively, and of course Mbappe is in the form of his life as well, and then of course Lautaro Martinez in there to finish everything off. Now, the only thing with this team is the dates could potentially be a problem and leave you with a potential bench dilemma. For the 4th of November, the Tuesday matches, we've got Mbappe, McTominay, Saka, Gabriel, Timber, Van de Ven and Oblak. So we've got 7 players on the Tuesday and 8 players on the Wednesday, which is going to be something that you're going to have to watch out for. The only problem is, again, we have some really nice fixtures on the Wednesday. You know, you're definitely going to want, you know, the triple up of Inter Milan, which is already giving you 3 Wednesday players. You obviously need a goalkeeper who's going to play on the Wednesday, and then, you know, you want to kind of spread your team out, and that gives you, you know, Gordon, Enzo Fernandez, Yamal. Again, the midfield is very interchangeable, but I'd find it very hard not to go for these 3 players. Enzo, again, playing against Karabag, you would expect him to do quite well. Gordon, again, has returned in all 3 match days so far. You would pretty much really want to get him in, and the same with Yamal. I guess if I was to take anyone out, it probably would be Yamal in this team if you want another Tuesday player. But that is, again, one of the reasons why I did put in Scott McTominay, because he does play on the Tuesday. But you can obviously play about with this team. This is just a template at the end of the day. But this is kind of the players that I'd be most looking at. I think the double up of Inter and Arsenal in defence is a must-have, if I'm being honest, with how good they both are. And the fixtures that they've got. But outside of that, I think you can pretty much change whatever you do like. So that's going to be the Limitless team. Again, if you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I will have my team selection video out later on today, so make sure you turn on notifications so you know exactly when that does come out. I'm posting loads of UCL content over on Twitter, so again, make sure to check it out. The link is down in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.